All of the witches in the coven have their own unique abilities. The short answer to that question is no, but this is a very nuanced topic and I think it deserves explanation. This is also one of the most popular questions that I get, and so today I'm going to break that down. Now, aside from the Supreme and members of the Witches' Council, when I think of unique abilities, I go straight to Zoe and Queenie. These are two witches who have a bloodline element to their powers. Queenie, as a dual descendant of the House of Voodoo and the Coven, and a descendant of Tituba, can use her voodoo abilities. Then you have Zoe, who had the Black Widow affliction, which she inherited from her grandmother. Both of these powers descend from their lineage, so this is not something that a Supreme would have. Although, with the use of telekinesis, I'm sure you could probably replicate Zoe's powers if you really wanted to. I also thought I should add that Myrtle Snow happens to have a unique gift as well. It's not something that's widely talked about, and it's barely mentioned in the series, but Myrtle Snow is a guardian in the veracity of vernacular. Basically, she is a truth seeker and a truth teller. This means that she can curse people with the truth, or at least cast spells that make them compelled to tell the truth. The best instance that we have of this is when she cursed Spalding's tongue. Now, she did use a spell to create the curse, but I'm not sure if the spell worked because she was a really effective spellcaster or because she had a natural ability in truth telling that made that spell stronger and allowed it to stick for as long as it did. This might also be why she ended up on the Witches' Council. Now, the next category is for witches who have extremely strong powers, and the strength of the power is what makes it appear to be rare. However, the gift itself is not actually rare, it's just rarely that strong. And such is the case with Misty Day. So Misty Day is a witch who has the power of not only Vitalum, but Resurgence as well, meaning that she has the ability to bring people back to life along with herself. Now, the reason a lot of American Horror Story fans, including myself for the longest, tend to get confused with Vitalum and Resurgence is because they both feel extremely similar to each other. However, they are both two separate gifts. This is why Queenie bringing Misty back in the cemetery was largely debated. This is why a lot of people, myself included, initially thought that Queenie had performed Vitalum prior to the Seven Wonders, when the reality is Misty was just repeatedly bringing herself back to life. Now, with the exception of the Supreme, in most cases, a witch either has Vitalum or Resurgence. They rarely have both gifts. So, for instance, Zoe has Vitalum, but she doesn't have Resurgence, meaning that she's able to bring somebody back to life. For example, the man she encountered when her and Kyle ran away to Florida. But when she was impaled on a stake during the exams, she was not able to bring herself back to life. Madison is also very similar. Madison has Vitalum, she can bring a fly back to life, but she could not bring herself back to life. But Queenie, possibly through her abilities of voodoo, or possibly because she has the gift of Resurgence, was able to bring herself back to life. But Misty can do both. And this is why, if you're ever gonna die around somebody, die around Misty Day. But this is why Misty's powers appear to be unique, because it's a rare combination to have within a witch at the potency in which Misty has them. That's why they appear to be supernatural even for other witches. Now, what is unique about Misty's abilities is her use of chlorokinesis. Misty is one of the few witches that we see in the show, aside from Cordelia, who uses plant life and soil in order to bring people back to life, and we see her do this with her swamp mud. This is something that is special, and I wish they would have expanded on more in the show, but I digress. On to the next one. Now, the last category are for powers that are rare and strong. And in this case, Nan is the best example of this, because there's no other witch in the house, with the exception of Fiona, who develops this gift later, that has the abilities that Nan does. Nan is the strongest clairvoyant in the entire coven. She can read minds, communicate with the undead, and it's likely her powers of divination would have grown exponentially throughout the show. This is why when people say Coco was weak, the reality is she's not weak, she's underdeveloped. And this is something that likely would have changed over time had she been in the coven. And I think she could have been able to rival Nan, or at least get somewhere in the ballpark. I should also say that in Nan's case, because her gifts of the mind were so strong, it's very likely she may have developed very strongly in telekinesis as well. Now, I'm not sure if she would have been able to rival Madison, or possibly if she would have surpassed her. I should also add as well that Nan was extremely powerful because her gifts and her mischievous spirit attracted Papa Legba, who would go on to make her his henchman. And the last category is common abilities of extreme strength. Madison Montgomery is the best example of this. She had very strong abilities of telekinesis and pyrokinesis. These are abilities that other witches in the house had, but they just weren't as strong as she was in those two areas. And this is something that likely would have grown later. Anyways, drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you want to see next, and I'll see you in my next video.